I'd just like to say how excited I am and happy for a group of players that went through all the protocols mandated, found a way to continue to get better as a team, to play selfless basketball, and win back-to-back Mountain West regular season titles. That's a credit not only to them, but for an outstanding group of coaches I have working for me that work tireless hours to make sure this team is prepared to play basketball. And I couldn't be more proud of a group and the accomplishments they've made over the last 2 seasons. To be sitting here at 50-6 over the past 2 years is really impressive and a credit to everybody.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. We'll open it up for questions. And we'll start with Paul.
Hey, Coach. What are some of the challenges of playing 3 games in 3 days?
Obviously, tired legs, lack of preparation. You have to rely a lot more on your fundamentals. Obviously, game 1, we'll have 2 teams we're looking at, try to do a little bit of something for each of them. And then after that, the turnarounds are so quick. And so we usually have a quick meeting in a ballroom. We walk through a few things, and then we go play. The thing I like about this team is we have great depth. So we will play 10 deep if AG's capable, and that depth should help us in a situation where you're playing multiple games in multiple days.
Kind of a related question. After the UNLV game, you mentioned that fresh legs are more important this time of year than maybe time on the practice court. Could you expound on that idea and why that gives you the best chance of success at the tournament?
I know sometimes there's concern about game timing if you take days off, but we were a little banged up at the end of the year, just normal aches and pains. And so we got back at 2:30 in the morning after beating UNLV, gave them the next day off, the following day off. We got together on Saturday. We did some hard shooting and did film work from the UNLV game, try to keep their shooting rhythm together, gave them Sunday off, and now Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be hard game action against each other, getting our timing ready for whatever opponent we face Thursday afternoon at noon.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Paul. We'll go to Mark.
Coach, I first want to ask you about Trey. What has he meant to this team, and what's changed in his game in the last few weeks, and how important has he been to this team in the last few weeks?
I think the biggest thing that's changed in Trey's game is confidence in his own offense. You know, that as a point guard, you always walk the line of getting your teammates involved or playing for your own shots. And sometimes the best play is for yourself, and I think he's starting getting comfortable doing that, seeing that if he's got an angle, if he's got an open shot, not to be afraid to take that there'll be plenty of time to get assists like he did against UNLV where he had 8. So he's doing a better job of picking and choosing when to attack and then when to just get his teammates involved.
He's one of those guys, obviously, who can come back for another year. With sort of this late surge and the way that the level he's playing at right now, what do you think he could do if he decided to come back in another year? What kind of player could he be?
I mean, you've seen his growth now from year 1 to year 2, just playing Division I basketball as opposed to junior college. Trey continues to get better every time he steps on the floor. So as far as any of these guys returning, I've not had talks with any of them on that. I want them focused on this year solely, and we'll have plenty of time when the year ends to discuss if any of them are interested in returning for another year with the Aztecs.
And one question about the tournament. San Diego State, historically, at least the last decade, has been very good about getting to the championship game, but not so good about winning the championship game. Any thoughts looking back at that about what the reasons are behind that, and maybe things that you might change in your approach this week to help give yourself a better chance to win those championship games?
I'd love to get there first and foremost. If we win 2 games, then I'll revisit what I need to do to get the team better prepared to win a championship. But I'm so focused on our first opponent and not trying to look beyond that right now, just trying to get ready for either San Jose or Wyoming in the opener.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. We'll go to Bryce.
Hey, Dutch. Given the situation with the story the other day and what's going on, the environment at Minnesota, and I know not all dots are connected in ways that fans jump to, but how do you address that with fans and the team and anybody who's nervous about what they're hearing related to your coaching situation?
I would just say that Richard Pitino is the head coach of the University of Minnesota, and they're preparing to play in the Big Ten tournament. And I'm here at San Diego State trying to be solely focused on getting the Aztecs ready to play in the Mountain West tournament and then the NCAA tournament. So any comment beyond that would probably not be timely or worth discussion at this time.
And just how do you, I mean, no matter what, you still probably have some conversations with your players. They see and hear things. How do you manage that in a tournament week?
I just told him in our first meeting that whenever anything happens at the University of Minnesota, my name's going to come up because I went to school there and my dad coached there. But I'm so focused on San Diego State right now that that doesn't need to be in any of our heads. And we need to prepare ourselves to play our best basketball in March and try to be at our very best when our best is required.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bryce. We'll go to Lee.
Hey, Brian, I got a kind of a follow-up question, but it's more philosophical than it is specific just to Minnesota. You've been here 21 years with Steve, and now it's your program. Have you interviewed for a head job prior to some other places? And how does a coach decide whether it's time to take the jumping point to go do something else, a bigger school, bigger conference, bigger payday? So what's this road been like for you, and how do you decide when it's the right time?
Like I've told every coach that ever worked here with me or for me, you have to choose your own path, and I don't know what that is. So I've had assistant coaches that have moved on other places, and I've said, you have to be comfortable with your path. No two paths are the same. And so I've been extremely happy with the path I've had to have been here on the Mesa for 20-plus years, to be the head coach at San Diego State University. And so my path has been nothing but positive and full of joy, and I just embrace every day here, and I don't try to look beyond that.
Have you interviewed other places? I mean, was there ever a point you thought about crossing the line to go take that next job or that step?
Well, obviously, Lee, as an assistant coach, I've interviewed for head coaching positions, at different places around the country. I don't want to get into specifics, but I just felt that the opportunities weren't right at that time. And I chose a path that kept me here at San Diego State, and it's worked out really well.
One other for me. I talked to Brady multiple times about this. How does a coach know which is the right job? Because you can step on a landmine, or these wouldn't be job openings if they were good programs or trouble programs. So how does a coach decide, I'm going to do this?
It's just a feeling. It's a gut feeling at the end of the day. You go there, you look at the situation, you meet with your family, you talk to your spouse, you talk to your people that you believe in and get their advice, and at the end of the day, you make a decision from your gut. And so every decision I've made in my career, I've embraced and really enjoyed. And whether that was an assistant at Michigan, assistant at South Dakota State, working for Lou Henson at Illinois for 2 years, every stop along my way has been really rewarding and meaningful. So I've just enjoyed the path I've been on and will continue to do so.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. We go back to Mark.
Coach, the media's postseason awards came out. Matt was not Player of the Year, and I know you kind of lobbied for him a little bit. How disappointed are you that not only was he not selected, but really hardly anyone voted for him?
It just all depends, Mark. I mean, there's numbers, and then there's the belief that if you're the best player on the conference championship team, that you should be the MVP. So I'm more along those thinkings. I think every time I voted or given the opportunity, I usually vote for the best player on the championship team because championships mean something. So we'll see what the coaches poll shows us tomorrow, but I think Matt is the MVP of the conference.
I wrote about this morning about you're going to have a 6:15 a.m. testing call on Thursday. The team you play is going to test at 5:45 a.m. Probably on both days, Wednesday and Thursday. Just your thoughts on that in this sort of era of student-athlete welfare. I'm guessing college kids aren't really big on waking up that early.
I've said from the beginning, we have to remain flexible. And that was with our scheduling, with our practices, with protocols. And this is just another example of being flexible. This is not ideal. We know that. But to play basketball games, it's worth doing. We get up early. We lift weights 7 a.m. And so this is not out of the ordinary for us to be up early and getting our work in. So we will gladly get up, get tested, and look forward to playing our first game on Thursday.
And last thing, I understand when you came back from UNLV at 2:33 in the morning, whatever it was, you went into the jam and cut down nets. Just talk about that experience, why you decided to do that, and how that went.
We wanted to give them that experience. I wasn't a big proponent of doing it on someone else's home floor. That didn't make sense to me. So we wanted to give them the cutting down net experience. So we got back to the Jam Center at 2:30 a.m. We had back-to-back championship T-shirts already printed and made for them, sitting on chairs, and we cut the net down. And I thought it was a really great moment. And what better way to do it in a COVID era than just our small group of people enjoying that moment together. That's kind of how the whole year's been. So we enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll get that opportunity to do it again soon.
Nobody was too tired where they cut themselves instead of the net?
No, there were no injuries. We had Sergio there with Band-Aids in case anybody got overly aggressive with those scissors, but we managed to do it correctly.